Okay, here's the first one. Okay. Hi everybody. Welcome to my studio. Tonight I am going to be using pastel to paint this eagle. We are just using Strathmore drawing paper. It's 14 by 17. And this is a picture that I got on Pixabay, so free to use, right online. I love doing eagles. I think they're really majestic and they're really fun to paint. One thing I will mention is I am going to start with the background. There's actually a bit of a green background kind of modeled. It looks like the eagle is probably against a tree or something, and so you kind of see that in the background, but it's, you know, very hazy and out of focus. So my plan is to do the background first, and then we will get into the eagle. So there's not that much going on here. It's just a couple of spots of dark. And again, you don't have to be too perfect here because, you know, nobody will see the bird, you know, nobody really sees the picture that you're using, so you don't have to, you know, be true to whatever reference photo you're using. People will see your art and they'll love it, and they won't even know what the real thing looked like. The only exception, obviously, is if you're doing some commission work, then you want to be true to that pet or whatever picture you're using, because the person who's going to be ultimately buying that knows exactly what it looked like, and you know, they're probably wanting something to be true to the original photo. So anyways, just some thoughts, and I'm being really loose here. I'm doing some overlapping a little bit. And I think this is really fun. I mean, I just love pastels. I love the way they handle. I love the way they feel. Now these past two ones I've been using are actually Blick. And they work pretty nicely. Sometimes they're a little stiff at the very beginning. You've got to like really rub the like casing off. But once they're all rubbed off, I don't know, they work really nicely. So I'm glad I bought that set. It's just kind of an extra set I bought. It's got every color that Blick makes in soft pastel, and it just is good for when you really need such and such a color and you just don't have it. My favorite brand is Great American, and I've said that in other videos, and I just love it so much. But it's a real treat to have because they are expensive. Alright, so now all I'm going to do is just rub this in. And I'm going to start with the light, actually, and I'm going to rub it in. Now the reason why I'm not getting too crazy up here, and maybe I'll just add another color here, is I'm going to have a matting around this. So I've already kind of measured the matting so that the whole bird fits in, but I'm not really too worried about anything else. See how that just blends in really nicely. Now if I just do the kind of go around and do the darks, then I can kind of make sure to preserve those colors. Alright, and I'm like looking at my reference photo and it's already looking different. It's I say this all the time. It's fine. It's not a big deal. It should look different. It shouldn't be exactly the same, especially where this isn't my photo. Nobody knows this eagle. It's not going to look exactly like the picture. but I can already tell, like, the colors I chose were just a little bit more spring greenish than the original picture. So I'm actually going to go in and do another layer with maybe a darker green. And now I want to kind of get onto the eagle a little bit as I smudge. I don't want any gap of white between the feathers and the background. You know, I've done that before, and the end product you can really see, and it's kind of annoying. All right, so I'm just gonna get another color here, something. I mean, this is kind of dark too. I mean, at this point it looks nothing like the reference background, and that's fine. And I'll just kind of blend this softly in. If I'm doing a detailed animal, or, you know, a detailed focal point, I don't really want a lot of detail in the background, because then the eye moves toward the background, and you want the eye to focus right on that eagle. Okay, that color looks pretty good. Again, I'm going like really spring greeny here for some reason, and that's not the look that I was going for, but that's okay. We're just going to have fun and enjoy the process, and it's all going to be great. All right. Now I'm going to just try to go in with some light colors here and see where that gets me. All right, well, I think I've worked enough on that. And again, I don't really care that much about the background. I'm gonna I guess I do care a little bit too much of like, more than I'm letting on, that I do care about the background, since I'm like reworking it so much. But I'm gonna stop after this. And yeah. All right, blow away those extra crumbs. And now I'm gonna get going on this eagle. So now that I'm going to be using the pastel pencils, I'm going to be moving from left to right. And the reason why I move from left to right is because I'm right-handed and I don't want to smudge all the pastel behind me. And I want to be able to like really rest my hand on this picture just for some support. So I'm going to move the soft pastels away for a while. And we're going to break out the pencils. The one thing I did want to mention is, you know, when I wasn't really doing art the way I am now, and I would just kind of watch other artists online and watch their process, I always thought that they were able to, you know, whip this drawing and the initial sketch up like really quickly. And for those of you out there that haven't been doing art for very long, and you might feel really discouraged if, you know, especially if you see all these YouTube artists and, you know, other artists like coming up with these really nice sketches. I gotta say, this sketch, I used a grid for it, and it took me a long time. You know, it took me a good hour to do this sketch. And when I do dog portraits for people, you know, those ones can take 2 hours. Sometimes I just sit and put on a movie or something, and it takes the whole movie to be done with that sketch. So, you know, getting that sketch right is important, and it takes a long time. I usually do, you know, tonight I happened to have done the sketch, you know, just 2 minutes before I started this video. You know, I had finished the sketch, but a lot of times I will do the sketch and then then I'll take a few hours break, and then I'll just get to the whole pastel part. So, you know, you got to figure out what is going to work for you, but don't feel like, you know, you need to come up with this really quick sketch very quickly, and that, you know, if you're a good artist, it's going to take you 5 minutes. No, if you're a good artist, you're going to take your time. It's going to take you a long time. Now, okay, I was just kind of thinking maybe I should use my hard pastels for this, but I'm going to keep going with what I'm doing. Sometimes hard pastels and semi-hard pastels, you know, you can get this nice detail in, but you can also smudge it, which, let's see how good this smudges. I mean, this smudges a little bit. I'm going to stick with the pastel pencils, I guess, but sometimes it's nice to use the hard pastels. I'm still thinking about it. No, I'm going to stick with what I'm doing. You know, I don't really have like one method that I do all the time with all of my drawings. I just kind of go with the flow. A lot of times I will do hard pastel. Sometimes my whole drawing, when I did, there's a lion I did on my Facebook page, and that whole thing is in the hard pastel, or semi-hard pastel. Hard and semi-hard, all good. So I'm going to use, this is actually tinted charcoal, but I like it, and I don't, it just works similarly to pastel to me, so I'm kind of trying to use it up. So anytime I can employ it, I will. I used to do a lot of charcoal, but I haven't really done charcoal in a while since I discovered how great pastel is. So I'm, you know, making sure that I'm drawing lines. You know, I'm not doing any circles. I'm just being really careful to be true to this picture. And bird beaks are kind of, you know, these striations. And so in order to get it to really look like the eagle, it's important to represent that. I'm going to come in with, let's see if I have something like, I'm going to use this. This is tinted charcoal as well, but it's kind of a goldish color. And again, I'm trying to use up this color. It's actually a little bit browner than I anticipated. I try to get this beak here. Alright, I need to find more like a yellow now. Alright, how's this one? I have kind of a combination that I use of Carbothello pencils and Faber-Castell Pitt pencils. They're both good. One's not better than the other. I like them both. I try to be brand loyal, you know, in some cases, but I think with the pastel pencils, truthfully, I kind of like the Carbothellos better. They're softer, so they're a little bit more nice to use, but you know, that's only my opinion. I happen to own the complete set of I use those a lot. All right, so now as I'm looking at the eagle, it's kind of a light gray. There's a lot of light gray on the beak, and what's actually happening is it's the light reflecting, but it's making it kind of grayish and much lighter than what I'm doing here. So I can just bring this down. And just by adding that gray, I really feel like it's, you know, adding a good amount of depth to that beak, and it's kind of making it come alive a little bit, so that's encouraging. Sometimes you never know how these are going to turn out. And I throw away a lot of art, so, you know, just because I have a few good, you know, I've done a lot of good pieces, sometimes they're not.
I want to watch TV.
Hey, you got to get out of here, buddy. Mommy's in the middle of something.
I'm trying to watch TV, but
Damon, you need to.
If I do it there, it goes wrong.
Listen, that TV is very finicky, but you need to go, okay? Ask Daddy. He's up there with you.
But he was like, no, man. He's with it, and all he said, shh, shh, shh. Every time we talk, he said, shh, shh, shh.
I know, buddy. That can be really frustrating. Can you just tell him that Mommy's busy and can't help you right now?
Mommy, he was like,
I know, buddy. I get it. I hear what you're saying, and I'm sorry, because if I was up there, I would not say that. But maybe Jordan can help you.
Jordan wanted to.
Well, then go out together to Daddy and say, Mommy's busy, and we need help.
Jordan wouldn't get there.
I'm sorry, honey. I can't leave what I'm doing right now, okay? I am very sorry. Close that door, buddy, all the way. Okay, sorry about that interruption. I knew that was going to happen at some point. I could hear them upstairs. Alright, so, you know, this beak is looking pretty good. There's a lot of colors in here. And so I'm trying to include them all. And it's looking pretty good. I think I'd like it to be a little bit more yellow, but I'm not sure So that's looking good. Now I really need a sharp point here. This is pretty good. And I'm going to just go in and outline this part. Now, one thing I do is I use these little smudgers. They have a name, tortillons. I think it's French. And I kind of just use them to get in there. And instead of making a line, I can kind of blend it out a little bit. Doesn't look like it's making that much of a difference, but that's okay. All right, so there's the beak so far. And I'm also going to go in with this gray. And there's like a small indentation here. Let's bring this back up. There we go. Now, as I was smudging, I kind of ruined this a little bit, but it's fine because pastels erase. And I'm just going to go in there with this. This is a mono knock eraser. And I like mono erasers, but this one's kind of hard, so it's not my favorite. They have a mono zero eraser, which you would think might be the same eraser material, but I don't think it is. I like the mono zero much better. This kind of is a hard eraser. The crumbs don't seem to like blow away as easily. So I take a paintbrush and I just kind of wipe all that debris away. All right, so let me continue going upward here. And we've got some nice yellow. And see how there's some green here? I don't really want that green because that's going to blend and be a color that I don't necessarily want. So let me just erase some of that. Now, I truthfully didn't do a very good job at sketching this thing in because I left a lot of details missing, like his nostrils are here. I just completely pretended that didn't exist when I was drawing. And that looks pretty good. And alright, I should have yeah, I didn't do a very good job here, but that's okay. That really looks fine. Actually, it doesn't look fine at all. This needs to go closer into this crest, I think. See, that's the good thing about pastels is it's very forgiving. You can erase. You know, it's different from a lot of the other mediums. All right. All right, that looks pretty good. This is actually more like this. Okay, I'm gonna have to erase. Usually I'm more detail oriented when I make these sketches, but today we are going to show you what happens when you're not detail oriented. Alright, so now I'm going to go back to this part of the beak, and the top is yellow, you know, kind of golden yellow, and then it kind of fades into a whitish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this color. This is ivory, and I love this color. So you can tell I use it a lot. And I'm going to just kind of blend this right down into that top part of the beak. Alright, so now next, the beak is a little bit mottled. It's like a grayish, brownish There's not a lot of rhyme or reason to this color, by the way. So I am just going to go with the flow, put a lot of gray into it. And again, because I'm doing a wild animal here, you don't have to worry too much about making it exact, because nobody knows what this eagle looks like. You know, I'm actually not showing you the picture on purpose, just so you'll be impressed at the end and not even realize that it looks completely different. But that's a good thing about making art like this. Again, nobody really knows what the heck the original picture looked like. All right, so now I'm going to blend this all in with my blending stump. It's actually called a tortillon, or tortillon, tortillon, tortelloni. I'm not really sure. I assume it's tortillon, and I believe that's French. But it's been many moons since I studied French. And the top of that beak is actually like a yellow. So we're gonna be true to that. Now this color actually, it's much darker than the way I did it, so I gotta go back in there and add some darkness to just give it some depth. Now I'm using enough area where I probably could have just used a pastel, but I didn't. And let's see how this looks once it's blended. Now there's definitely some light portions in this beak, so I don't want to blend that dark brown all the way in everywhere. We are trying to give it some depth and some realness, so when you're doing that, you really need to try to be a little careful with the details. Alright, that looks pretty good, and that will come together a little bit once I start making some more of this eagle. Now, I need a really yellow. I am not doing this eagle justice with my goldish yellow. I'm just trying to use up. So I'm going to just go in there with an actual yellow and just brighten that up a little bit. And I'll go in here and brighten this up a little bit. And I'll blend this out just a little bit with my finger. Okay. actually some dark blue in there now that I'm looking at it. And there's definitely some dark blue in the beak. So this isn't really coming out as blue as I had hoped. I'm gonna use a different blue here. Now the blue is mainly because of the reflection. It's not like a true blue beak. Okay. Alright, so that looks a little bit better to me. I'm actually going to just do a little bit to the top here. All right. All right, that's looking pretty good. Sometimes it's hard to really see the final product in your head. You've got to go through the motions and get through the ugly stage a little bit. I'm feeling like there's a little bit of an ugly stage with this bird, but there's an ugly stage in all the pictures that you have, so that's fine. I should finish up here. I'm like getting a little excited to move on. So, alright. Actually, I need that pencil again. I don't have a lot of space in my studio, unfortunately. And people think it's awesome that I have a in-home studio, but it's actually a funny story because it's actually a DJ booth that came with our house because the people that originally owned it threw a lot of these big parties, and so now we're the owner of a DJ booth. And they ended up, and I feel bad because they ended up selling their house to us, and we're like the lamest people and never throw any parties. So I'm sure this house misses all the excitement, although we have 3 kids, so that's exciting. Alright, so there's a little bit of a orange undertone there, and I'm just going to go over that with this like dark burnt umber just to add some depth to this nostril. And we're just smudging it in. I probably should have went with a darker color. That nostril in the birds is can get very like deepish black. But you don't really want to make it black because it's not a hole. I mean, it is and it isn't, but there's vasculature under there, and there's the beak, and so it's not truly black. So sometimes you just have to layer a bunch of colors on top of it to give it that dark look. But I'm not really loving how that is coming out. So let me think about how to do this. Because as I said, it's almost like a burgundy. So let me add a burgundy and see if that kind of helps. then I'm just gonna do that, see if that helps. These little noses can be very tricky because you don't want them to just be like blobs, which is kind of what's happening in mine. So I'm starting to get desperate because I feel like I don't have a lot of room for a mistake here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a very dark swatch there, and then I'm going to blend it down. So that was like a black. And now I'm going to just blend it down. Now that's giving it some depth. I'm going to do it a little bit more. So I'm making it the whole, and then I'm going to just blend it down. Now that's looking a little bit better. What I can do now is, let me get finish off the beak here. And lighten that up a little bit. Alright, now I'm going to just blend this down. Alright, so that looks a little bit better and a little bit truer to what the picture shows. So let me get a gray here and kind of bring this down. Bring this down. And I'm gonna go. I'm kind of going in this direction because there's small little hairs here, and that's still kind of the beak too, so it's good to just make sure it's kind of looking a little natural. So I'm gonna go here a little bit. And again, I am gonna take this, and this is kind of whitish. We're gonna just kind of blend it all out. And then this color and with this color. And we'll take my blending stump or my tortillon for just a little bit more. Alright, so now I'm going to kind of let's get this looking a little bit more natural. Got my white in there. Little bit of gray. You don't want to overdo it. It's easy to overdo things because using pastels is so fun that you can get really carried away and overdo things. So you've got to be careful. Alright. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to just add another little color here. not sure why I did that. Sometimes I swear, my hand just kind of like does its own thing. Alright, if you start fixating on like one part though, then that's not good either. So I'm just gonna let this ride for a while and maybe come back to it later if I need to, but this looks not so bad. And I'm still not liking this nostril button. Bird nostrils can be hard. Alright, I'm moving on though, because I'm starting to get obsessed. Alright. So, we need to now just kind of finish this part of the beak off, and I'm going to do this part in pastel. So before I put my pastel pencils away though, I've got to do this part here. Oh, I already used that color. Alright, I know I'm getting a little crazy now. Getting a little crazy with these pastels. Okay. Sometimes the pastels just fly right out of your hand. So gotta be careful. They have a mind of their own. Okay, so I'm gonna blend this in a little bit, and I'm gonna use my finger for this because I said so. Just add a little bit of white there. And this guy also has, I'm calling it a boy because I think that this eagle must be a boy since it's so pretty in the bird world. The females are the ugly ones. So I'll darken this a little bit, but that's actually like yellow in there too. Now it's looking a little bit grainy, which I don't like. But what I'm going to do before I go any further is I'm going to get that burgundy color again, because let me see what the burgundy looks like first. Yeah. Now this bird has a mouth here. It's slightly open. And I don't want to make it black because it's really not a black mouth. It's like a brownish burgundy. So that's all the red that I'm going to need. I'm also going to pop in this really dark kind of burnt umber. This is sepia dark. This is a Stabler. I bought these a while back. It's not really a pastel. Well, it does say it's a pastel, but they only make a couple of colors, and they're kind of those sepia and sanguine colors. They're nice, it works well, but it's a little hard. but some people like the hard pastels. These work wonderfully if you're doing charcoals and you're kind of doing kind of a sepia color charcoal drawing. I haven't done one of those in a long time, but they can be very, very beautiful. And now I'm going to just kind of go in and darken it up with a gray. Some artists don't like to use black because they don't feel like black occurs in nature. I don't have that particular view. I don't think it's wrong or anything. I tend to use black for sure. Just not in this, I'm just not using it this time. But it's not because I'm against using it. Alright, let's see. This is my brightest yellow that I'm using, so I am going to do that here. So that's a little bit too yellow. I feel like I'm not getting these yellows right. I'm either going too yellow or not yellow enough. So I'm going to lighten up a few areas with the ivory. Okay, and I'm going to actually bring the ivory up here. And I'm going to do the same thing here, so in some areas we'll do the yellow, but then I'll just lighten it up here. So anytime you're not putting in like a big swatch of color and you're, you know, blending it out with other colors, that's when you're going to get something that looks a little bit more natural. But not everyone who does, you know, art in general wants something that looks natural or real or, you know, realistic. Some people, you know, want something a little bit more impressionistic, and that's okay. It's just whatever you're going for. Okay. And again, I'm going to just bring some of that ivory in here. And that's just that's adding a lot. Just by doing that, I feel like did a lot of good here. Now I've done a good amount of eagles in my art career, and this one is giving me some trouble. You know, not everything you make is going to end up being a winner. But I will say it is important to see it through. So some of the best things that I've made, I've wanted to throw away before I even finished. And I'm so happy I didn't. But it seems to be a trend. You know, the uglier something starts, it kind of ends up being sometimes the most pretty. Alright, so now I'm going to kind of go in with some soft pastels and just kind of take care of this area. And I'm not sure I'm 100% done with the pastel pencils yet, so I'm going to kind of keep them close by. This needs to be a little bit bigger. So, alright, I've got my pastel, my soft pastels here. So, let's see what we can do. Now, it's still kind of very yellow. Area here. So I'm just going to bring some of this color down, and it's kind of feathery here. I think it's actually very fine hairs. So I want to stay true to that a little bit. And just kind of, you know, bring some sweeping motions here. And now we're going to get a little bit lighter on the yellow side. I'm just going to kind of bring this down to more of a lemon. And now this is getting a little bit on the grayer side. So let me see what I can do here. Let's see. Finding the right color can be really challenging sometimes. Alright, I actually found this color in my whites. I'm going to be blending all this in, so I don't have to worry too much about getting things perfect here. Alright, so those look like pretty good colors. Now I'm going to just kind of sweep in. There we go. That's pretty good. This might be a little bit too much on the brown side, but I'm going to do it anyways. Because, again, nobody knows what this actually looks like. And when I sweep, it's just going to really blend that in. I can sweep upward too, because that's going to be where there's going to be some feathers. And sweep that way. Alright, so that actually looks pretty good. I am going to soften it just a little bit with a yellow. Alright, so that's looking good. The other thing though is there are some really fine hairs kind of right here. So I'm just going to use the pastel pencil just to add them in. And they don't have to be perfect. I don't have to do a ton. But just because we're going for something a little bit more on the realistic side for his face. And you want to make sure that you're just kind of going in the actual direction of the hair. I'm going to actually squeeze this in a little bit. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now, I still am not super happy with how this came out. So this is a good time to use my pastels down here, my hard pastels, and just kind of get more of the look I'm going for. Why is every brown I'm reaching for super dark? Okay, this is probably a little dark too. This is a Henry Roche, and these ones are very granulated. They have some sort of pumice or something in the stick that just gives them some grit, and some people love that, and I do too. Not all the time, but sometimes you really need some texture, especially since I draw a lot on paper. That leaves me a little bit of a disadvantage because I don't have as much tooth. So using a Roche or a Henry Roche or Henry Roche gives me a little bit of extra tooth for the paper. Now you can actually buy like this special pumice that you rub onto the paper, and it works pretty well. That is from, I believe, Diane Townsend. Yeah. And I've gotten those before. I don't use them often, but I've always enjoyed when I do use them. Okay. Alright. I need to start getting onto these feathers. I feel like I'm just getting a little bit of bogged down psychologically with this face, and I need to just stop, because now is the eye, and the eye is also important. So this eye doesn't look super complicated because it is very black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the iris, so that color around, and this is actually a very dark iris. Now, when I'm doing animals, I tend to go this way out of the iris, almost like the sun rays, because that's how eyes kind of are naturally. However, this eye on this bird, and maybe birds' eyes are just different, it doesn't really reflect that pattern. So I am doing what I see on the photo. And let's see what I can do here. Alright, I'm going to get a little bit of a lighter brown, a very light brown. And how is that brown so dark? Alright, well that's a little bit lighter, but it's still a little bit darker than what I wanted. So I'm going to make this part very light. And you know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to use my artistic license here and give it kind of a gold. do something more goldish. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. Which actually isn't too far off from the picture, but it just looks really pretty. And I'm even going to give it some yellow, not too much yellow. Okay, now I'm going to blend it in. Now I'm avoiding those spots that I kind of designated for the eye shine. That eye shine is what makes eyes look alive. You know, and they're not necessarily white. Sometimes they're gray and sometimes they're blue. And just as long as you've kind of carved out room for a lighter color there, then you should be all set. But typically they're not white, but sometimes I do make them white. And there's no right or wrong way to, you know, any sort of art. Some artists will believe their way is the best way, or, you know, there's no black in nature, or you know, there has to be a white in the eye or like eye shine. I don't know, I just think you need to go with the flow. Not everything has to look exactly like the picture. And you get to have a lot of fun if you're kind of doing your own thing. Now that's just a little bit of a pastel, a soft pastel. I just wanted something that would be a little bit more, travel a little bit more on the page. That's looking a little bit not like the picture at all. But I am not discouraged yet because we're not done. But I am gonna just lighten this up a little bit. All right. Now I feel like I need to darken this. Alright, this is looking horrible, but it's going to look good in a second. Let me get my black. Okay, I can't find black. Is this black? This is kind of blackish. Alright. Now, I've kind of lost my pupil here. That's okay. Now, I am not getting this color great, so let me get a very dark, like umber. And I really like this one. This is a Sennelier, and it's so black. I mean, it's so brown, it's almost black. And I like it for this sort of thing here. And I don't want it to, you know, I don't want to do too much here. Okay, now, let's see, this is getting a little bit crazy. Now I've got to kind of darken this whole thing. Now I've gone a little overboard, which is fine because we can fix it. But I've lost the eye shine. But I've got a tool. This is an eraser. And you just, like magic, boom, done and dusted. See that? It's great. Now the eye shine, and by the way, this is just a eraser that I got on Amazon. It's has the company here, AFMAT, AFMAT. It's been an awesome eraser. It actually is USB charged, and it is just really great to use. I love it, and they came with so many refills that I'll never have to ever buy more refills again. And yeah, it's just been great. I use it for every medium I do for the most part, so it's just been a really good purchase. Alright, so that is looking decent. So I'm going to go on this side. Now the thing about eagles and birds in general is that I have to go back and really look, but I don't think they have whites of their eyes. I think it's just black. I'm not really sure though. I'm just kind of looking at that and this picture and saying that. Alright, I have got to sharpen my pencil. So this again was an Amazon purchase from Carl, Angel 5. This nice blue, and that didn't get, I need to get this very sharp. And you gotta be careful because this will eat up the whole pencil. See how sharp that is? That's great. And now I've gotten my eagle all yucky, but that's fine because feathers will be there. I've always had the hardest time sharpening pastel pencils. They always break, and then I end up having to, you know, when I first got my Carbothello pencils, they're very, very soft. And I remember the first night I was so excited to use them that I wanted to sharpen them, you know, because I had dulled them down a little bit, and I broke like this ivory. The reason why it's so small compared to my other pencils is really not because I use it that much. It's because I broke it so much on like the first day I got it just from sharpening it. And I was using like a little metal handheld sharpener. So ever since I got that Carl Angel sharpener, my life has been changed, and I've saved so much money on pastel pencils. Okay, so this is looking good. Now I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to blend in that eye a little bit. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. And now this little bit, it's not white. You might be tempted to do white, but it's actually blue. And it's a very light blue. I've done white there before. Trust me, I've made all sorts of mistakes. And it's not really a mistake. You can make whatever color, but if you want it to be like the picture, it's actually a blue. You never want to look at, you know, things you used to do as mistakes. You just have a new way of doing them now. doesn't just go for art. That goes for all of life. You can really get down on yourself if you feel like you've done something wrong your whole life. But you didn't do it wrong, you just did it different. And now there's a new way of doing it. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of white to this. And there's kind of another little piece there in the picture. And this is like huge and blobby now that it's in, so I'm going to just make it a little less so. There we go. And the pupil, this black part truly is good. See how good that looks? That's looking nice. When people say that, you know, art kind of starts coming alive on the page, what they're actually seeing is the eye. I feel like the eye is the reason it comes alive on the page. And now there's little kind of feather hairs here. And I'm going to just try to go out in the direction of that. And I just realized that I haven't actually used black at all in this. I didn't even take it out of my pencil case. This is just like a stone, like charcoal gray, a slate. It is a slate color. All right. All right, awesome. This is looking good because, and I'm saying awesome not because I'm feeling like I'm great or anything. I'm saying awesome because now we can get to the fun part, which will be the feathers. And I'm just kind of using this tortillon to kind of blend out the black a little bit. So blending out the black, that is just going to make it look a little bit more real. And yes. So now before I get super excited about the feathers, and the feathers go really quick, so actually we're like 80% done with this thing. What I need to do is I need to get this part right. And I am going to use just some soft pastels for these. So that's actually like a bluish gray. It was probably the wrong color to use, but I actually think it looks really nice. Again, you don't have to make things look just like the picture. Alright. I'm going to just overlay that a little bit with some gray. This is like a greenish gray. Again, sometimes I have no idea why I choose colors when there's probably better, more realistic colors that I have in my box of colors here, but I don't know, I just gravitate towards some certain colors, and that's what I go with. And now I didn't even put any pastel down here, and I'm just able to fill that right in with the soft pastel I've laid down. Now you notice that this is not very realistic. You know, it just looks, it doesn't look bad. I'm saying that this is actually good. This is not super realistic, but it's okay. I like how it looks. And so it's okay not to, you know, make things that look exactly like it. I think some people get wrapped up that things have to look exactly like nature. And, you know, sometimes that's not what we're all going for. I used to get really down on myself when things didn't look perfect. But I've learned that it's okay to just be a little bit loose with your style. Another thing I have, and you know, again, I'm always really impressed when people can do pastels that look exactly like, you know, a picture, or, you know, just like very real, so realistic, like photorealistic. And not just pastels, but there are, you know, across all the mediums, people are able to make things look photorealistic. And I used to feel like that was art. You know, if you could make it exactly like God made it, you know, it would just be, that's perfect, that looks amazing. But as I started doing more art, I realized that, you know, that's not a look for everybody. And, you know, some people might say, you know, why make something look so photorealistic that, you know, you could just get a photo. You know what I mean? There's something to art. You know, we just have a bunch of photos on our wall if that's what we want, but we don't. People hang art up on their wall. It's not about being photorealistic all the time. And that honestly took me, I still have to combat that thought a little bit. And so anyone who's listening to this, my 3 subscribers, which I'm super proud of, by the way. I don't know who you guys are. You're probably my family and friends. That's fine. But whoever's out here listening, I just want you to not be feeling like you always have to get things perfect. If you're a famous artist and clients wanted you to make it spot on to the photo, they would just hang the photo. You know, artistic license is what they're paying for. And I don't mean to offend anybody who does photorealism in their art. I think it's gorgeous. I've never been able to get it perfect, and it's truly a gift. But it's just not always what I'm going after. And so don't beat yourself up, people, if it's not what you're going after either. All right, so now I'm going to take a step back here and think about some things. I'm going to put in a little bit of some dark gray here just to add interest. And I want to make sure that this is kind of in here. I don't want to leave any white. Sometimes I'll go back at a picture that I've left white in and I'm just staring at it really annoyed. And nobody else is annoyed, by the way. You're your own worst critic, but anyways, I try to be careful. Now I am gonna go, this is my favorite pastel, well, one of them. This is a Terriges by Diane Townsend, and it's so kind of sharp and jagged, I'm going to just add this little eye shine right in. Actually, I'm getting nervous because I don't really know exactly what part of the pastel I'm hitting the paper to. So I've got this little shard. And I'm going to just give it a little tappy tap. Boop, boop, boop. May have overdone it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give this a little tappy tap too right here. Boop, 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 boop. I'm going to do maybe just one here. Boop, that's the end. That's done. You know what? I'm going to just give, you know, it's, I heard a quote once and I love it, and I'm not sure exactly, I don't remember what it is exactly, but it's something along the lines of, it takes two people to paint a picture. One person does the painting and the other person tells them when to stop. It's very easy to overwork. And all right, that looks good, but I have to stop with the eye because, you know, one wrong move and that thing could come crashing down. Okay, I am going to add a little bit of black though. It's not actually black, it's my charcoal slate. All right, that's the end. I can't be messing with this eye. All right, all done. Now on to the fun part, which is the feathers. Oh, I remember what I was doing. I was taking this black. It's not black, it's like charcoal. Oh, this actually might be black, is it? No, I don't think so. All right, I am going to take this and I am just going to do this a little bit. All right. A little bit more there with the details. Now I'm going to take my tortillon and really get in there. Okay. So now here's the fun part. I am going to just move out with the feathers. Just move on out. So this is going to get fun. It's fun, but it's a little nerve-wracking at the very beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all of these and I'm going to put them away later. I'm not going to bore you with that here. Oops, okay. So now comes the fun part, but I do want to make sure I'm getting my colors right. Okay, so we are gonna get some browns. That's a kind of a pretty brown, but I'm gonna be honest here. As much as I love Blick colors, I don't really like using them for feathers because you really need to make sure that you have nice, soft color. And not all the time you're going to get soft from Blick. So what I might do is in some areas I might start with like an underpainting, and that can be in a Blick. But for my actual eagle, you know, I really want to make sure, or for the actual like feathers in the fun part, I kind of want to just do some softer pastels. So I'm kind of just gathering those together right now. Now, I do have a nice soft undercolor I can kind of use. Again, this is Blick. And what I'm doing is I'm just sweeping. And I'm not going to sweep down here. I'm not going to go, this is kind of like a line of demarcation between, it's kind of a lighter head and then it goes dark here. So I'm going to just, do this. Now if you notice, just because of the shape of the pastel, it's already making these really nice kind of loose feathery marks all by themselves, and I'm even bringing it out onto the green. Now the other thing too is now every time I do that though, Look, you're getting this nice feather. That's why we always do the background first. But now I'm having green on my pastel. So I'm gonna take my towel and I'm gonna wipe the green off between strokes, okay? Now I'm not gonna go too crazy here with getting like spikes of the feathers, because it gets spikier down here. But I will, whoa, that one went crazy. Sometimes you get really excited and you can really get carried away with the pastels. So that's why you gotta really be careful. Okay, I'm gonna not do any more there, but that was just my underpainting, and this was a Blick, by the way, so I like Blick. At first when I bought the Blicks, I'm like, oh my gosh, these are so hard. What have I done? I just spent like $300 of my own money. I haven't been selling very much. How could I have done this? And to be honest, that regret lasted a short amount of time. Once I was able to use them, I liked them. So, all right, and again, I'm just getting loose and wild with the pastels. All right, now that looks gorgeous. Caitlin, you're doing great. Thank you, Caitlin. You're welcome. All right, I'm gonna just get a little bit of a darker color here. Now, I truthfully wish I had a little bit of a darker, this might be good. This is again a Blick. All right, this is good. It's a little, you can tell from, the discoloration that there's a little bit of a casing on it. I don't know what to call that. I mean, what is it? It's not a casing, it's not a sausage. It's like just kind of a coating. And I want to go in different directions. As I kind of do this crisscrossy motion, I end up with a feathery look though. And again, we're just impressionistic. This is so fun. I absolutely love, this is why I do pastels. It's this part right here. It's not this part. This part is fine, but this is where you really feel like an artist when you're putting your strokes in. All right. Ooh. Okay, now I think I'm gonna go in with that dark, like my darkest brown. And that's my, you know what, I actually have a dark Blick. You know what, I'm not gonna do the dark Blick though. I'll do that later. I wanna make sure that, yeah, there we go, look at that, that's nice. Now this looks nothing like the picture, by the way. I'm just doing my own thing at this point. I really love this umber. This is beautiful. This is a Sennelier, and I just love the way that it moves on the page. It's got a little bit of grit to it. And now, this is actually looking a little hairy, and I get it. Feathers, feathers don't really have that look, but I don't know. I just like it. It's not a look for everyone. Now, I am going to go in with kind of a lighter color. Okay, well, that's not what I wanted. I was hoping to get something a little bit on the lighter side. This is fine, though, Whatever. If you don't like it, don't buy it. I like it. I kind of want to do some sort of like a lighter white, but I'm getting a little nervous about messing up here. So I'm gonna just go in here with, I'm gonna be a little more careful not to get in the eye. There we go. Love that. That looks awesome. I'm so excited. I'm just going to stare at it for a minute and really just take it in. Now, okay, well, I can't stare for too long. I have to go to bed soon. I'm very tired. So now the next part is kind of, I made another line of demarcation. So this is kind of like a darker area. So I am going to kind of start with an underpainting. I love that. I mean, that just looks so artistic. This is why I do art. It's these beautiful strokes. They just gladden my heart. It just looks so good, but they're starting to all look the same, so, you know, you don't want to really do that because nature is all different. I'm going to just make one that goes like a different way, kind of. Yeah, okay. Now notice though, I'm not doing any smudging. I'm just letting the loose lines kind of have a mind of their own. Now this kind of dark color goes all the way down like here. So I'm going to just do a couple more of these. Whoops, see, that's not what we want. That looks bad now. You want it to start thin and go out. You know, something like that. This, whoops. But I'm glad I did because now I can show you what not to do. Okay. So I am going to just do a couple strokes over here just because I'm super loving this. This, again, by the way, is a blick. And the other good thing about blick is that you can buy them all open stock at Blick. So for those of you who live near Blick, it is really convenient to just be like, oh, I ran out of something that I need ASAP, and you don't have to wait for it to be shipped. Truthfully, I do mostly get things shipped even though I live right in the city, and there's three Blicks within 6 miles of my house, but going to Blick requires that I find a babysitter and, you know, find all sorts of time, and I just don't have that sort of life right now. I just love what's going on here. This is looking really nice. Now I want to add something a little lighter because I think this is dark as I want to go. And I will just do a little bit of this burnt umber just because it is a little darker than that Blick. Okay, but no more of that. Okay, a little bit more. Love it. Love it. But look how, I mean, it's so soft that it just eats up. I mean, which is fine. I don't mind, you know, having to go to Blick. Having a Blick emergency where, you know, I absolutely can't do anything else until I have Sennelier number 504 in my possession. You know, that's not a bad problem to have. I absolutely love that. It doesn't happen often, so when it does happen, I make sure everybody knows that I have to get to Blick in order to, you know, work on this very important commission I have. So here's my lighter color. And when I go into Blick too, I make sure everybody knows, you know, I'm a professional. I am on a mission here today. I don't know what you guys are doing here, but there is absolutely a color that I need. Now, obviously, I'm being a little sarcastic. That's my dry humor, but, you know, it does make me feel good when I can go into Blick and, like, really needs something. You know, a lot of times when I was just kind of doing art for fun and it wasn't really what it is now, the way it's like my job, I would just kind of watch other artists go in and be like, oh, they need stuff, they're doing all this important work, they're artists, what a romantic life. And so I don't ever take it for granted that I'm now an artist that gets to go to Blick. It's just really exciting. And people watching this is probably going to think I'm ridiculous, but hey, I know there are people out there that totally get where I'm coming from. Look at that. That looks really great. So I'm starting to see like too much white, which I'm not loving, so I got to do something to fix that. I'm going to just get a nice gray, like this is nice. And I'm going to just kind of go in and just cover a lot of that up. Okay, this is getting a little crazy because now it's starting to look like some sort of fluffy dog, which isn't really the look I was going for. I mean, it was kind of, but now I feel like it's getting a little crazy. So I've got to do something to chop off this a little bit because it just looks like some sort of mane. Again, I'm probably being too hard on myself, but sometimes that's part of it. And sometimes you just break it up by, you know, adding a little something like that, adding a little something like that, boom, like a little cross section. Now I'm going to see what happens when I just blend real quick. Alright, that wasn't bad. Okay, I was thinking that I may have made a big mistake. This is actually looking pretty cool. Now I'm making sure to wipe my finger off between everything that I do here. This actually looks awesome. Why wasn't I doing this before? Alright, now I'm going to start up here and see if I... Okay. Just gotta be... Any brush stroke might just ruin this thing, so you gotta be careful. Boop. 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 Gotta do the sound effect. It's really important for some reason. Wow, this is... I don't know how I feel about this. This is a little crazy. Okay, I'm gonna get some darks here. And I'm just gonna kind of try to break some of this up. Alright, now I'm kind of messing up here, so I want to make sure to not do that again. Now I do need some blacks or some darks here. That's actually a little bit integral to the picture, it seems like, but I'm going to just stroke them up, stroke them up, stroke them up. And again, with the sound effects, it's got to happen. Okay. That looks cool, I think. I mean, I think it looks cool. I'm saying it looks cool, but I'm not sure if tomorrow I'm going to feel like this looks cool. Okay, see that, like, bluish there that I'm not sure whether I ruined this thing or that looks awesome. But it just reminded me that, you know, I do one of the reasons why I did choose to do an eagle tonight is because I want to use my new golden pastel, and so I chose a golden eagle so that I could kind of do that. Now these are pretty alright, that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. Okay, no more of that though, because I will ruin it. I'm gonna just go a couple more times, I think. Boop, 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 boop. Alright. I mean, it's whatever I'm doing is a good thing. Okay, but enough. So, the next thing I need to do here, I'm going to leave some of this like white because there are some white parts in the picture, so I think it kind of looks cool to have some kind of white feathers. However, I'm going to go and do some more browns here, but I'm going to make them short and stubby because the feathers back here are kind of more like that. They're not like as wispy and whimsical as the ones that I had so much fun doing there. So I'm actually like making this more of a feather look, if you know what I mean. Maybe you don't know what I mean. I don't know what I'm saying. It's been a really long week. It's actually Tuesday. Alright, I'm going to just go in here with another little color just to kind of add some interest. And feathers, in reality, have so many different colors, so I like what's happening here though. And you know, there is, right on the picture, you can see that there is a, you know, a definite change in the type of feathers. So these ones really are kind of long and spear-like, and these ones are kind of more stout, and they're probably just thicker. I don't know. I don't really know that much about birds, but they are pretty. And I do have a degree in biology, so I could say that I know about birds. And you might not think I'm lying if you saw the degree on my wall. So that's actually something else about me, is that I didn't go to art school. I was a scientist for a long time, and I use art as a way to heal from some trauma that I had as a child. And it's okay because I am coping, but I use art to do that. And it's been awesome. It's like out of the ashes, something really beautiful came from a bad situation. But I am healing. Every day I heal a little bit more. And so art is like a therapy for me a little bit. And that's what it started out as, and then it just gave me so much satisfaction, and it just became a calling. And now I do it every day, and I just like to tell people, it's just a good place to meditate and pray and just kind of be to yourself, and and to express yourself in a different way, because sometimes you can't use words. And this eagle isn't really expressing anything for me. It's not metaphoric in any way, but I just feel like to be doing these sort of things, it's like, I don't know, it's very cathartic, it's very nice, it's You know, the one part of my day that I just love to do is to get down in my studio here and just do my art. It's so awesome. And so I encourage anyone who's coping with trauma or anything. I mean, you can just be a regular person. Anyone can be an artist. You can just go to Michael's, go to Hobby Lobby, go to Blick. They don't check for an art degree. Pick up some pencils and just start practicing. You know, I bought my first set of pastels less than a year ago. I would say it's March now, so it was like June or July of last year. And I'm getting really close to the beak, but I don't want to overlap the beak. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I've only been doing pastels for a few months, and I've really been doing art for a little over a year. Anyways, it's a really interesting story, but it's a little bit, now that we're done with this video, it's not the right time to start telling it, but at the end of this eagle, but maybe for another pastel. Alright, so I'm feeling good about this pastel. Again, I wasn't feeling good about it at the very beginning, but that's what I mean when I said, you know, you just gotta kind of power through the ugliness, because there can be a lot of that at the beginning and in the middle, and then in the end you end up with this really beautiful piece of art, but you got to get through the ugliest parts. It's kind of like life, you know, like in my trauma, I had a lot of ugliness in my life for a long time, and once I powered through, I was able to find this beautiful artist at the end. Now, I am so glad I didn't just shut off the camera, because my goodness, I have got to add some of this gold. Now, I was going to add this gold, but I almost feel like it's kind of bronzy, but I have another gold. And I even have but I feel like even that is like a little too crazy. Let me just like add a stroke here and see what happens. Okay, well that does look good. You know what, maybe I'll do kind of gold there, but I also have this one. So I'm not sure what to do. Oh, decisions. Okay, I'm gonna do this one just kind of like around the eye. Uh-oh, I just think I messed it up. It now looks like eyeliner at like a weird club. Oh my gosh, I think I just, you know what? I think that looks cool, but I gotta stop, or that could get real crazy real fast. That looks awesome. All right, I'm gonna do a couple more where I see like silvers. Boop, boop, boop. Done, because that, again, it's like when you're getting ready to go to a club and you start getting really excited putting on your makeup, and then at the end you look like you just got barfed out of a glitter factory. I've done that one too many times. Good times. Okay, I'm loving how this is coming out. This is a Sennelier gold pastel. And I'm not going crazy, although I kind of am. I just want to add a little bit of interest, and I probably just want to like concentrate it up on the head a little bit. But yeah, that looks awesome. Oh, I love this. I did a review on these. This is from the Tasty Sampler at the Fine Art Store. They give you just a bunch of random metallic pastels, and you don't really, you know what brands you get, but you don't know which colors you get. And I was like loving doing the review because they were so beautiful, but I'm like, what the heck am I gonna do? how am I going to incorporate this into my art? But here we go. Look at how pretty that is. I mean, it's got to be done because I'll never stop and this whole thing will just be glittery. Okay, I'm done. This looks awesome. I'm really excited that I saw this one through. One more thing though, I'm not done yet. If you look here, you can really see the white. I don't really like how that is. So I'm going to take just like another pastel and go over some of those areas where there's just a lot of white and green kind of coming together with nothing. And that should do it. I mean, it's not the end of the world that there's some pieces there, but yeah, oh my gosh, that looks awesome. So excited. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching this. I am really appreciative of anyone who wants to put up with my boring chatter. But this is done, and I'm really happy with how it came out. So if you guys have any questions on any of this, again, any sort of technique or anything, you know, comment below and I will absolutely get right back to you. I just realized that I am so not done. I know, this could go on all night. I'm just going to go in just a little bit here and really just darken some of this. I mean, wouldn't it be horrible if I just like accidentally made this awful mark and just ruined the whole thing? Because I had to go in at the very last minute. Okay, no more touching. This looks good. Okay. So, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And I don't know why I can't just leave this thing alone. I'm just like, oh, I gotta really get some white in here. I don't have to get white anywhere. I need to just stop. Caitlin, stop yourself. No, I must not stop. Really, I have to stop. This looks good though. Okay, again, if you have any questions, comment below. Thank you so much for watching this. Have a great night.